Hello, hello. Welcome to Mindset2Results. Hi, Stavros.
Hi, how are you, Elena? Everything well?
Great. Stavros is our guest today, and he is a fitness practical coach. We already had episode, and it was so good that we decided to continue this conversation today. So let's speak, Stavros, about practical advices as you are a fitness practical coach, and let's speak about important things: how to keep good health, how stay in good shape without just
Yeah, well,
applying willpower.
yes. I know I think it's a very good conversation to have because um, everybody knows we need to exercise. Everybody knows that we need to be healthy, and yet very few people do all that stuff. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that most of the popular advice on health and fitness are very impractical. They might be effective, but they're very impractical. And I think that's where the big problem is, and that's why people have a hard time getting in shape. And I think it's a conversation that's going to help a lot of people. So let's start with the exercise part. And, exercising, and we all know it's good for us, good for our health. In the old days, we didn't have to worry about exercising because our everyday life took care of that automatically. Today, unfortunately, due to modern lifestyle, we don't challenge our body enough, and that's why I think our body deteriorates at a much faster rate than normal. Actually, I give you one small example. Here today, I live in the United States. Uh, Everybody, like when they get over 50, 60, 70, you have hip problems, knee problems, back problems. You're aware of all those problems. And knee replacement, hip replacement, very popular. When I lived in Greece in the 70s and 80s, people in their 90s, 100, there was no such thing as a knee problem or a hip problem. Why not? But they aged differently back then. The fact is, our everyday activities kept our joints in shape. And I think that's something everybody can do. And that's the good news. So, how do we start exercising without the use of willpower? And it's a really easy way. Make it habitual, right? The question is, how do you make it habitual though? And that's where a term that I've come up with, I call it, we need to deformalize exercise. And what I mean by that, we need to take it out of the gym. Nothing wrong with gyms, by the way. If you like gyms, by all means, do go to the gym. But what I mean by that is break it down into very small, tiny parts that are very easy to fit into your day. So let me ask you, let's say you wanted to start walking regularly, right? And the typical advice that you get is you need to do at least 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. That's typical advice. My advice to my clients is I want you to walk 1 minute every day. Now, could you come back to me next week and tell me I find 1 minute to walk, right? So, of course, the question I get asked is like, wow, what would 1 minute do? It's not going to do much, by the way. But what it will do is get you into the habit of walking. Because let's say you got home after work, you're tired. What is the chance of you doing 20 minutes of cardio? Not very good. On the other hand, if you know you only have to do 1 minute, chances are you're going to go out there and walk. And what's going to happen is once you get into the habit of walking 1 minute, well, it's easier to make 1 minute into 5 minutes and then 10 minutes. And before you know it, it becomes a routine. And that's what I want to get to. You want to make exercise in such a routine, no thinking is required. Does it make sense?
Yes, exactly. And I'm sure that when person will go for a walk for 1 minute, he will not just return home
Exactly.
in 1 minute. Yes, it is just psychologically. You just think that you go just even for 1 minute, but when you get out, it will be much more than 1 minute. Yes. So here the point is that just it doesn't matter how long. It matters that just to do it, to start doing
Exactly.
this new activity every day to get it to the habit, because what we repeatedly do 60 days or more, this becomes automatically and it is coming effortlessly.
Exactly.
What,
And that's what we want to get to.
yeah, so what we call habit is to create a new new activity that becomes our routine, that we don't even think about this. It is like brushing the teeth in the morning. We wake up, we don't think, oh, should I brush, how
Exactly.
much time it will take, right? We just go and do it. And this is exactly what this habit will do. And what about different ages? uh, what should be the approach for people of different age categories?
Yeah, that's a good question. The older you are, the slower I would start. And the other point I wanted to make on exercise actually is that the first goal of an exercise program, and that goes for all ages, it's not results. We focus too much on results. The first goal of an exercise program is to develop the habit of exercising. So as far as age is concerned, if obviously if you're in your 20s, you can push yourself a lot harder and you have to worry about it. If you're older, you don't want to do that because, especially if you're out of shape, it's easy to pull a muscle, to injure something, which means you got to stop, wait to recover, which gets you out of the habit. And like the saying goes, slow and steady wins the race. And the other thing is, where again varies with age, is you always want to finish your workout at a point that you still want to do more, because by finishing at a point that you want to do more, well, guess what? You look forward to the next workout instead of saying to yourself, thank God this is over. Because if you always leave the workout with that feeling, well, guess what? You're not going to be want to come back to the gym again or do the workout. Uh, and the most important thing, especially with when you're doing weight training, when you first start, again, grab the lightest weight, do 12 to 15 reps. And especially when you're older, because again, it's much easier to pull something. And what I usually do with my clients is we start with a very lightweight. If you can do 15 reps, no problem at all. The next day you felt great. Then we can up it a little bit. And you want to up it slowly. Now, as far as weight training is concerned, especially when you're older, one, the first set of any exercise, any kind of weight training, you get 90% of the benefits. Did you know that? As a matter of fact, there's no difference in the first 4 months of weight training between doing one set or three sets per exercise. So imagine you have to do one set per exercise. How much time it's going to save you in the gym? It's very easily done.
Mhm. Yeah, this is very interesting approach, because usually what we hear, that you have to push hard and the most effect comes when you feel that burning in your muscles, when you
Yeah.
cannot anymore, and this is where the maximum effect comes.
Yes, I would agree that you get the maximum effect. However, though, the difference is, like, maybe actually give you the whole thing, is like the first set you get around 90% of the benefits. Second set you get an additional maybe 9%. The third set you really get less than 1%. So my question is, that especially if you are a person who is, has a job, you have kids or whatever, does it worth spending 2/3 of your time in your exercise program to get less than 10% benefit? Does it really worth it? Now, if you're a professional athlete, absolutely, absolutely, because in winning and losing, there's a very small difference. But for the average person, you're better off doing one set and be consistent with it than try to do three sets, take so much more time and feel so much burnt out that the chances are you're not going to be consistent with your workout. And the other thing I always tell people, that if you have, let's say you have two workouts, one, it's more effective, but you hate. And the second one is less effective. It's still effective, but less effective, but you love. I would do the one that you love. I don't care if it's less effective, because the one that you love is the one, or at least don't hate, I'll take that, uh, is the one that you can be more consistent with. And consistency is what wins the game at the end of the day. It's not what you do great once in a while, it's what you do consistently. And to me, a lot of fitness people make terrible examples to follow, because a lot of fitness people, don't forget, they love fitness. If you love fitness, yeah, I'm sure you can do three sets and four and five sets, and you have to worry about burning out. But my question to the audience is, if you want to exercise because you want to get in shape, but you don't particularly love fitness, then I would say go with the less effective, but that you love.
Mhm.
Does it make sense?
Yes, yes, it definitely makes sense, and no, don't burn out. Just finish at the place where you are feeling great, where you feel energized. So it is psychological game. So you remember that good feelings, and it will
Yeah.
motivate you to go next time. Yes, and
Yeah.
what about walking? Usually, there is opinion that people have to walk every day at least 10,000 steps to keep healthy.
I think that it is a good advice, no question about it. But my only advice on that would be, if let's say right now you only do 5,000 steps, don't try to get to 10,000 steps overnight. Build it in, build it in slowly. So add little activities throughout your day. For example, let's say you work in at a building and you have to go to the third floor. Well, stop taking the elevator. And what I would do actually, because if let's say you always took the elevator, I don't expect you're going to go up the three flight of stairs the first day. What you could do though is get into the habit of going up the first floor, then take the elevator, and do that for a month or two. Then once you get used to it, then go two floors and then take the elevator. You see, and then eventually you're going to get to doing all three steps, all three flight of stairs with no problem at all. You won't even break a sweat, but you want to build into it. There's, to me, and that's why I came up with the term deformalize. We want to look at opportunities throughout our day to fit in little activities. Let's say you have a sitting job. What you could do is like every hour, get up and do some jumping jacks or walk around your desk or go up and down the stairs. Little activities. So, yes, I agree. You want to get to 10,000 steps, no question about it, or more if you can, but do it in a gradual way that doesn't burn you out. And that's where I think, again, the advice a lot of times of well meaning fitness professionals don't work is because they tell people, oh, you got to do 10,000 steps. And they push them to get there as fast as possible and not realizing you gotta make it a habit. You gotta work yourself up to that point. So eventually you do the 10,000 steps or more, but without having to think about it.
Mhm. Yes, there is the gap between where you are now and where you
Yeah.
want to be. For example, that 10 steps is where you want to be. But if you just jump from 0 to 10 steps, it will feel overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
you think that I have to make 10 steps, but today I don't have time for 10,000 steps. It means that you will sabotage yourself and you will do nothing, right? So better
Exactly.
as you said, better to get the habit, just go out whatever you can, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and create that habit to do it every day. This is how you will get to 10 steps in time.
Exactly. And the one other thing I want to say about walking, which actually kind of ties in with the joint problems we were talking about before. Um, to me, walking is not just good for the heart and losing weight and everything else. It's actually great for the mind and great for the joints. I don't know if you know about this, that joints don't have a blood supply. Joints need movement in order to suck in the synovial fluid, which lubricates the joint and keeps them healthy. The reason in the West joints are failing us is because we don't move enough. And when you don't move enough, the joints don't get all the nutrition they need and they deteriorate at a much faster rate than normal. And the other my advice would be, as far as the mind is concerned, because nowadays people go for a walk and right away they want to put headphones on, listen to some music, listen to something. You know how great it is to walk and don't listen to anything, just your thoughts. I think it's very therapeutic and to calm the mind. It's called the walking meditation. So you can kill two birds. Actually, you're killing three birds with one stone. You take care of your joints, you take care of your heart, and you take care of your mind by walking without listening to anything.
Yes, because people used to bombard their brains, yes, their mind with all this information, and sometimes even it might feel uncomfortable how I just can walk and just
Yeah,
don't get any information because it became habitual, right? And sometimes we have to think different way. We have to dedicate time for ourselves, just disconnect to phones, disconnect to anything,
yep,
and just think about something like walking and just thinking about maybe your goals, about your
Yeah,
life that you want to live, why you walk, because you want to be healthy. Think about your good health and dedicate this time to be with yourself.
exactly. And another interesting habit that we had when I lived in Greece is like, again, we're talking about how our traditions kept us in shape. Because one of the first things I noticed was when I first got into fitness, all the stuff that I learned completely contradicted how I was raised in Greece. And the one thing I noticed is like, wow, it takes so much effort to get in shape. But then when I lived in Greece, where people were naturally lean and healthy, how come it didn't take any effort? And the reason was all the healthy behaviors that kept us in shape were habitual behaviors that were passed down from generation to generation through our traditions. So one of the traditions that we had, and we still have actually, which I think uh, uh, keeps our joints healthy. When you go to a restaurant to eat, okay, all the restaurants in my hometown, it's like a small town, they are in a main street, most of them. When you go out to eat, you don't just go to a restaurant, you sit down and you eat. You actually go, you walk up and down the street, like for 30, 40 minutes sometimes, just a casual walk. Then you sit down, you enjoy your meal. Then again, you get up and you walk back and forth again. And the other interesting fact is that restaurants, at least back in the 70s and 80s, now this is changing a little bit. Restaurants don't sell dessert. You have to go to a special restaurant that does only desserts to eat. If you want, have cake, it's not something automatically that you get your dessert right after you eating your meal. Uh, and I think all those traditions is part of the reason that helped us stay in shape. You know,
Yeah, that is very good point. So let's speak more about eating habits and eating desserts after food, which you just mentioned. That is so wise tradition in Greece to do it separately. So let's speak more about this. What is the right time to have the dessert?
to me, the one thing I would tell you about dessert is usually this is the advice I give my clients. If you know you're gonna go have dessert after your meal, undereat your meal, because the issue with simple sugar, and I know people say, "Oh, simple sugar is bad." Yes, simple sugar is not the greatest thing. However, though, if you eat simple sugar, candy, ice cream, whatever, but you were truly hungry, did you know that the sugar will not affect your health the same way as if you ate the same exact simple sugar after being full? And to me, the other thing that I like about taking a little break between dinner and dessert is that you gives your brain the 20 minutes it really needs to really know that you're full. So if, let's say, you decide to go for dessert after dinner, but you walk for 20 minutes before you sit down, number one, the body had a chance to process some of the food that you just ate, and number two, you feel more full, so you might even decide not to have the dessert, or if you do have a dessert, end up not eating as much because you gave your body a chance to really feel the food you just ate.
Yes, and if you want to have dessert, it is better to eat dessert first
Yeah, I mean,
than
if you really want dessert, I would
meal.
disagree. Yes, if you really wanted dessert, and I've done it myself a lot of times. If you eat it before the meal, and when you were truly hungry, it will not have the same negative effects because the body needed that sugar and you used it up. A lot of times, sugar causes problems because you're already full. You eat the simple sugar, it goes right into your bloodstream, and the body needs to do something with it, and it gets to get rid of it. And that's where a lot of the harm comes in. So to me, I'm a realist. That's why I call myself a practical fitness coach. I love my dessert. You know, and the other advice talking about dessert that I usually give my clients is that Monday through Friday, don't eat dessert. Friday evenings and the weekends, enjoy your dessert. Because at the end of the day, dessert, it's a treat. A treat is something you have once in a while. Now, who came up with the idea that you must have dessert after every dinner? Right? That's something that when in Greece, for example, we didn't go out that much. On the weekends, you did go out. But during the week when we ate at home, we didn't have dessert after eating. It was only on like on the weekends or special occasions we had the dessert. So that's another thing to people to keep in mind, that you don't have to have dessert after every meal.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And how overeating can harm our health and
Okay.
our body.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something controversial. Number one, did you know that overeating is not bad for you? Overeating all the time is bad for you. And let me explain what I mean by that. See, the problem with the whole industry is that uh, we overeat one day, okay? The next day we can go back to normal eating. That's a problem. You see, think about it this way. Look at lions, any kind of carnivore. They definitely, when they have a kill, not by the way, not the domesticated ones, the wild ones, they overeat for sure. Because, and the reason they don't have a health issue because they don't eat again for another 2 or 3 or 4 days. They naturally undereat for the next few days until they digest the food they just ate, or use up the excess calories that they ate. Well, humans, we're no different. That's why our stomach has the ability to stretch. So let's say if you overeat one day, if you learn to pay attention to your hunger, like that's what I teach my clients, you'll find the next day you're not going to be as hungry. So you're going to naturally undereat the next day, and it balances out. So that's why I tell people overeating is not bad for you. Overeating all the time is what becomes bad. And by the way, I'm not promoting overeating. Obviously, if you don't have to overeat, but let's say you went to a party, you went to a wedding, you went to someplace, and you really stuffed yourself. Don't feel bad. Next day, if you again learn to pay attention to your hunger, you'll find that you're gonna undereat if you learn to pay attention to your hunger. And naturally, that's how the body balances itself out. The problem is nobody listens to the body anymore. So you overeat one day, the next day you eat your normal, but normal is not good enough now because you ate too many calories the day before. The next day you gotta undereat if you want to balance it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so why it is important to balance it out?
Because when you overeat, basically you taking more calories than the body really needs, and the body will store it as fat. If the next day you do not create a deficit, in other words, you do not create a reason for the body to utilize the excess fat that you just stored, it's just going to stay there. You're never going to use it up. Because remember, the body prefers the energy that just came in. It always prefers what you just ate. The fat reserves, it leaves it for a time that it doesn't have any calories coming in. So if the next day you undereat, in other words, you not provide the body for all the calories you really needed, well, guess what? You just force your body to utilize the fat, the stored fat that you stored from the day before. And that's to me is how you create balance. But the issue that we have today is people eat, or a lot of fitness professionals teach people to eat by counting calories or counting points or measuring your food, which is something I don't agree with. And here's why. We don't truly know how many calories the body utilizes or how many calories you really need. All those formulas are guesstimates at best. The only way to truly tell how much food you really need is through hunger. That's why nature put it there. That's why nature put hunger there. The problem is that today we no longer even register hunger. A lot of people don't even know what hunger feels like. They're mistaking cravings for hunger. And I tell you another interesting fact. There's a hormone called leptin. The hormone tells your brain when you're full. Okay. Did you know a lot of people have built resistance to the hormone? So their body never registers that they're full. And that's why they constantly, oh, they eat and an hour later they're hungry again. That's not true hunger. It's the body is no longer registering the hormone or he's built resistance to it. No different than when a diabetic becomes resistant to insulin. It's the same kind of concept. And by allowing your body to go hungry and fast regularly, you build your body becomes more sensitive to leptin. And that's why a lot of times, if you fast, you'll find that you're hungry less often. It's
Mhm.
because the body learns to register the hormone. You know, does it make sense?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah. So, how to differentiate when you are really hungry or when you just think that you are hungry?
Oh, good question.
As you said, that mistaken hunger and real hunger, how to differentiate them?
Here's how you do this. When, let's say, you think you're hungry, ask yourself, would I be able to indulge on a piece of stale bread? Okay. If the answer is no, I want something else, you're not hungry. Because true hunger, you're not picky. Actually, I do that to my kids all the time. Actually, they don't like it. They'll come down, Dad, I'm hungry. Oh, this is what we're eating. Oh, I don't want that. You're not hungry then. Because true hunger, you want to eat anything within reason, obviously. You know, when you're picky, you're not hungry. Or another way is, let's say you just had dinner, okay? An hour later, you go through your kitchen looking for something else to eat, right? I know a lot of people that happens to. Ask yourself, would I be able to continue eating what I just had for dinner? If the answer is no, you're not hungry then. It's a craving. I find the best way to tell the difference between true hunger and cravings. The thing is, you gotta ask the question though. You gotta, take a moment and think, am I really hungry? And you'll find most of the time it's not true hunger. Another thing you could do actually, drink some water and see, am I still hungry? Because sometimes actually the mistaken thirst for hunger. That's another thing that you have to keep in mind too. Those are the three ways I advise my clients to start reading if they're truly hungry. And by the way, I give you a heads up that it takes a little practice. Absolutely takes a little practice. But you'll find once you start getting in tune with your body better, it becomes easier and easier to the point that during the day somebody can offer you your favorite food, and your automatic reaction if you're not hungry, oh no, thank you, I'm not hungry. You learn to really listen. The problem is like riding a bike, right? In the beginning, it's hard to ride the bike. After doing it for a couple of months, now you can write no problem, right? What's the same thing with this habit is in the beginning, asking the question and going through that thinking process. Yes, it takes a little effort, but because we're working with the body signals, eventually becomes second nature. And again, I talk from personal experience and the experience of one of my clients.
Yes, and why having cravings is harmful?
Why cravings being helpful? What's up?
Yes, why not? Why it is not good to have
Oh,
cravings? Like why not too good? Like if some people eat and then in 1 hour again they
yes,
feel have to eat maybe snack and again in 1 hour again something. And some
yeah,
people have habit just to eat all the day.
yes, I agree. And the thing with cravings, think about this. How come we always crave most of the time foods that are overly processed or junk food? Think about it. Nobody overeats natural foods. Most people overeat junk food. Why is that? It's because if you look at all those extra ingredients that you cannot pronounce, what do you think those ingredients are there for? To stimulate appetite. You know what I mean? And to me, artificial cravings is when you're eating and your body's not hungry, and then that's why actually eating out of cravings is very harmful to the body. Is that be is when your body's not hungry and you're eating, you basically force feeding your body because the body didn't ask for food, but you're giving it food anyway. When you're giving your body food when it doesn't really need it, the body's forced to, to store it somehow, and that's where the excess fat comes in. Um, And what other thing you're gonna find out is that once you learn to eat out of true hunger, you're not gonna eat nearly as often as you eat now. Okay. So to me, cravings, the reason eating out of cravings is bad is because the body didn't ask for food. Whatever you ate, even if you have an apple, but you were not really hungry, that apple becomes bad. Now, obviously, eating an apple instead of a chocolate, yes, the apple is less bad. But at the end of the day, both were bad because I hear this all the time. Oh, you want to have a healthy snack or you have a light craving, have this healthy food. See those commercials all the time. No, my argument is I don't care if the food is healthy. If you're eating it and you're not truly hungry, you're just having a craving, it's still bad for you. Yes, you could argue that it's less bad, but it's still bad because beyond what the body needs. Also, the all the whatever whenever you eat food, doesn't matter how good the food is, it can be the healthiest food in the world. One of the byproducts of digestion is free radicals. What do free radicals do? Ages you. So the more often you eat, the faster you age. And also, you have a greater chance of developing basically all main diseases. Because another byproduct of digestion, even if you're eating the healthiest food, by the way, it doesn't matter, is misfolded proteins. Misfolded proteins, I don't know if you're familiar with them, they accumulate in your brain to something called amyloids and are one of the precursors to all mental diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. So basically, the more often you eat, the more chance you have of all those problems. And most of the time, we eat out of cravings. That's why, to me, eating out of cravings, we want to eliminate it as much as we can.
Yeah, this is very important because people usually are creatures of habits. This is
Yes.
how their parents eat it, how they used to eat, and they just continue without being conscious about this. It is looks like the body controls them instead of them controlling their
Yes.
body, and becoming meaningful about this and understanding that, as you said, that our body has to use the energy, and all what food was eaten has to be digested, and it needs time to digest, because if we eat something and it is in the process of digestion, and then we again add something new and then again something new, so the food doesn't digest properly, and this is how our body get overwhelmed. Yes, it is extra load to our organs, our systems, and this is how, as you said, people who have not healthy habits, they age faster, and also more probably they will be out of the shape.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing, too, I wanted to say here is that uh, we have this craze with protein. Everywhere you look is protein. You need protein, protein. I would argue the exact opposite. I would actually tell you, actually, you need days that you have a protein deficiency. It's actually good to have a protein deficiency every so often. And here's why it's actually good to have a protein deficiency every so often. And by the way, I'm not a vegan. I like my steaks, but you shouldn't be eating steaks every single day or meat every single day. And here's why. When you have a protein deficiency one day, okay, because when I lived in Greece, we ate meat once a week and we ate fish once a week. And I would say 5 days a week, we're really more of a vegan type of diet.
Mhm.
Now, here's my argument against protein. Why I disagree with this idea that you have to have protein every single day. When you have a protein deficiency, in school I learned that if you have a protein deficiency, body's gonna eat up your muscles. Okay, the body's not stupid. Okay, it's not gonna go eat up your muscles right away. First, it's gonna go for other sources of protein that you can take from. What are those sources are? And by the way, the doctor who discovered this whole process, he won a Nobel Prize in 2016. It was a Japanese doctor. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but they can look it up. They won the Nobel Prize in medicine, discovering this process I'm going to describe right now. So what the body does, it will go within to find other protein sources. Those sources are misfolded proteins, mutated cells, dysfunctional cells. Now, what are those three things? Dysfunctional and mutated cells are the precursors to cancer. So, by having a protein deficiency every so often, the body goes within and destroys those cells so they never become cancer. That's why fasting lowers your chance of developing cancer. The misfolded proteins are the ones I mentioned before, are the ones that are the precursors to all mental diseases. So again, by having a protein deficiency every so often, the body goes within and gets rid of them. Also, it gets rid of excess skin. It's actually good for your skin. Because again, if let's say you're losing weight and you start having more skin when you have a protein deficiency, the body's gonna say, hey, we have all this extra skin. Let's get rid of some of the cells from there. So to me, do you see the benefit? To me, it's tremendous. But nowadays, again, look at who's behind the idea of we need protein all the time. Well, companies who sell protein. Of course, they're going to tell you all the benefits. And I'm not saying that uh, there's no benefits to having protein. All I'm saying is we do not need to have excess protein every single day of the week. And then again, look at herbivores, look at elephants, look at gazelles. They eat grass all the time, and look at how much muscle they have. So Anyway, something to think about.
Yeah, so we have those bacteria which create everything that our body needs.
Yep,
That was interesting things which I found out recently. That it is not that what we eat, but it is having those good bacteria which transform what we eat to those elements which our body needs.
exactly. And that's why, to me, the amount of nutrient and food that we need has been overly exaggerated. Overly. And again, by whom? Well, look who's behind the food industry. If you're the food industry, and again, nothing against them. I used to be in the food industry, uh, but they're constantly pushing. Oh, you need this, you need this, you need that. Why? Well, if I'm selling supplements, of course I'm going to tell you you need all these nutrients. Otherwise, you're not going to be healthy. I can sell my product.
Yes, and as we speak about food industry, let's discuss a little bit about importance why we have to read the labels on the food before we buy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that you brought that up because you look at. I give you an example. You look at a Greek chocolate, okay, and look at the ingredients. It's like 5 ingredients. Go look at a chocolate in the West, like in the States where I'm here. Look how many ingredients in here. Half of them, I have no idea what they are. So why here we have to have double the ingredients? And in Europe, actually, it's all I don't know. It's all Europe. I think there's, if I remember correctly, there's around 400 known carcinogens that are in our food in America where Europeans do not allow. So to me, what I would do, and by the way, the food industry will never change. They will only change when the consumer change what they buy. Because at the end of the day, you speak with your wallet. So read the ingredients. If you cannot pronounce something, don't buy it. Find something that doesn't have it. Enough people start doing this, and you'll find that the food industry will adapt to you, not the other way around.
Yes, be conscious what you eat, what you drink, because there are so many sweet drinks, right, and different kinds of food which have ingredients which are very harmful. So it makes sense to read the ingredients and get some information. What is that, and how it can impact your health? And it doesn't matter even this food is for which age categories. We can find these ingredients added even for food which is supposed to be taken by children. Yeah, so we live now in the time when everybody have to become his own doctor
Yep.
and become conscious about something that we eat and drink, because again, as we said, that we are creatures of habits, and we can do every day something that can be harmful for our body. And we can see that many diseases now became younger. Like if
Yes.
or maybe people were 80, 90, they got those diseases, but now people can start having them from 20, 30, 40. Yeah, so this is because our body is so smart, it can clean. Yes,
Yes.
it can clean it, it can restore, but if we do it again and again and again, so it comes to some point that body just say, okay, like
I give up.
yeah, like yeah, let's see what will happen now, right? So it is important again that health is mind, it is body, and it is also spirit, right?
Yeah.
Like, and eating. It is all related. Everything what we do is spiritual. It is all related to awareness, about consciousness. So more we put our mind in what we do and what we eat, what choices we do, and how we eat, everything what we discussed today, healthier we will become.
Yeah, and one other point I wanted to make, what you on top of what you said, is that yes, we have to become conscious. The good news is that once you change your habit, you become conscious of how you eat. You only need to really the effort is required in the beginning to make the change. Once you make the change, then you don't need to be you don't have to put as much mental effort into it. The mental effort is required in the beginning to make the change. And to your other point, that how nowadays diseases that people used to get in their 80s and 90s, now people much younger get it, and has a lot to do with the fact that those people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, when they were younger, ate much cleaner than this generation. That is why the diseases are becoming, they're going to younger people, because look at our kids. Look at the stuff that they eat. It's a lot worse than when those people in their 70s and 80s, when they were kids, they ate much cleaner. And again, everything goes back to the food industry, and exactly what you said there. You have to become your own advocate, because if you're waiting for all these agencies, as supposed to be consumer protection agencies, to help you, good luck. Unfortunately, that to me, I don't trust any of them, because they're proven to me it's all about the money. It's, corporations go in and have a very negative influence on them, and they allow ingredients into our foods that really had no business being there. And the only way you're going to change that is by the consumer stop buying products that have things inside that we know are bad for yourselves.
Yes, yes, definitely. And we discussed today about food habits, about sugar, about exercising. And one thing I think that would be good to speak about is the water. How important is to drinking water every day? Because this is also habit. Some people have habit not to drink enough water every day. So let's speak about this, how it can affect your health if you don't drink enough water, and how much is enough.
Okay. Well, with water, here's an interesting thing. Here they tell us that we need to drink a glass of water a day. Okay. Uh, and to have some formulas to figure that out. Well, when I lived in Greece, we didn't drink that much water. So why is that? Because how much water you really need, it depends on the type of diet you eat. If you eat a diet high in fruits and vegetables, which are foods that have a lot of water in them, you're not going to need as much water as a diet that's the typical American diet, which is a lot of meat and food that doesn't have as much water. Then I would say uh, we need a lot more water here. So the one thing, again, just like I teach people to eat because of out of hunger, we really need to start drinking when we're thirsty, and drinking water, not not things, juices, sodas, all that stuff. We really need to learn to drink water, just plain water, and learn to listen to our body again. Now, a lot of people say to me, well, by the time you get thirsty, you're already dehydrated. And I do agree with that. However, for the average Joe that's not an athlete, is not competing in a sport, that's not a bad thing. Okay, fine. You dehydrate, you drink water. The process of letting your body get dehydrated a little bit, again, is what makes your body healthier and stronger. Same thing with hunger. When you're going hungry, certain things happen within your body. Those things are what makes your body healthier. So my general advice for people is, yeah, trying to drink around, especially in the States, is a glass of water, but really learn to pay attention to your hunger. I mean, sorry, to your thirst, and learn to drink out of thirst.
Yeah, and another opinion is that when people are thirsty, it means that body is too much dehydrated.
Yes, it's already dehydrated, and you gotta absolutely gotta drink. But that now, if you're competing in sports, that dehydration is gonna limit your ability to compete as well. You're gonna lose a little strength, which is that's why I would say if you're an athlete, you all make sure you're well hydrated. But if you're the average Joe, that dehydration is what makes you healthier. Obviously, if they stay dehydrated for too long, there's another problem. So I'm not saying it stay thirsty. As soon as you're thirsty, drink.
Mhm. So you recommend to drink only when people thirsty, but sometimes people don't have even that feeling of to be thirsty, and they end up not drinking at all.
Yes, I mean there is that issue too, but I find that because again I don't agree with the general idea that you just drink a glass of water, because again it all depends. Like myself, I don't think I drink a glass of water because I eat a diet high in fruits and vegetables. Like I love watermelon. Watermelon is like what 90% water. So if you eat tons of watermelon, you're already getting a lot of purified water into your system. Um, so to me, I tell people, yes, as a general rule, yes, try to drink a glass of water, but learn to slowly pay attention to your thirst, though, because I think again the body will tell you when it needs to drink. The problem is we ignore it, And again, there is such thing as too much water too. Just like too much food.
Yeah, yes. And another thing about water, that there is opinion which says that it is better not to drink water when you eat together with the food, but better to drink before, like half an hour before you take food, or between. What you would say about that?
I actually agree with that, and I'm glad you brought it up. And the argument is, because I kind of read both sides, 'cause I always like to read both sides to see which one makes more sense to me. And because look at it, usually wild animals, they usually don't eat and then go drink water. And the reason is they tell you not to drink water while eating is because the liquid is the first thing that leaves your stomach. So if you drink a lot of water and the body empties the water from your system, well, with the water, the acid goes with it and it actually affects digestion. That's why that's exactly the advice that I give my clients is trying to drink water at, at least 10 minutes before. Like give at least 10 minutes before you have your food. 30 minutes even better, And after eating, don't drink a gallon of water right after eating. That's the worst thing that you can do. Give your body a chance to digest the food. And I think that's a great advice. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yes, because as you said, our body produces different liquids like acid to digest meat, proteins, and another to digest carbohydrates, right? So
Yeah.
we need to, if we drink the water, it means that we just like that amount,
Diluted it.
yeah, that we eat and the body produces that acid, for example, enough to digest this amount of food which we eat. And if we pour water there, it means that the food will not be digested properly, and
I
our
agree.
body will not get all those necessary elements from that body, and it will just go like
Out the
how to
system.
wash, yeah, out the system without being digested. And that's why in like people eat and they drink, and in one they ate a lot, and in 1 hour they get hungry. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is, they get hungry because of these not healthy habits. One, like drinking after the food, they will not be digesting and getting all the necessary ingredients or elements from the food. Yeah, that is very important. So I think we discussed pretty much today in this episode, and thank you so much for being
Thank you for
amazing.
having me.
Yes. So, anything else would you like to maybe advise or give your best?
One
Yeah.
One more advice, actually, I think we missed that I forgot to mention is the slow and mindful. In other words, the you could eat the same amount of food, but depending on how fast you ate it, you can get different amounts of satisfaction from your food. So that's why slow and mindful eating. Every study I've ever read on it, people end up eating less food without trying. Because think about it. When do you get pleasure from food? When the food is in your mouth, right? As soon as you swallow it, that's it. You're no longer getting pleasure. So the longer you can keep the food in your mouth and chew it, which by the way aids digestion, the more pleasure you get from less food. That's another element that people need to put into their eating regimen is to learn to really pay attention to the food and try not to do anything else while eating. Because how many times has it happened to you? I know myself, it has happened in the past where I'm eating and I look down and the plate's already empty. I'm like, I ate all this and I don't even remember eating it. It's because that's mindless eating. And then you don't feel satisfied. So you want to eat more. So that's one more thing that I think the audience should consider putting into their eating habits. Slow and mindful eating.
Yeah, I like you mentioned that be present when you eat. So when you eat, just eat and think about the food, enjoy the process, enjoy the taste. Because
Yep.
if people have another habit of multitasking, as you said,
Yes.
they can eat, and their mind can be totally different place in the office or doing something. And this is how you will not enjoy food again, and it will affect the digestion, because you have to be present. You should be grateful for food, you should enjoy food and think about it. This is how the body will take the maximum benefit.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stavros. It was amazing conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I think that we will meet again for our
Yes,
future.
sounds good. We'll find another interesting topic that I think will be helpful to your audience.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
See you
Thank you for
soon.
having me.
You're welcome.